Thomas steps over again, lays it across, tapped in. Washington grabs the lead late. It's Jessie Scarpa on the doorstep.
Washington got the best of Chicago and U.S. national team goalkeeper Alyssa Nair 2 weeks ago. Now the Red Stars get to take on rising star Ashley Sanchez and the Spirit on their own field. From just outside Chicago, we welcome you to Bridgeview, Illinois, where the Chicago Red Stars host the Washington Spirit. I'm Jen Hildreth alongside U.S. national team midfielder Lori Lindsay. And Lori, while each team in this fall series gets to play 4 games, we're now rounding the turn a bit for these two teams as we have our first rematch of the fall series.
And one thing I love about this fall series, Jen, is it has expanded the base of the pyramid. It's provided opportunities for players to get experience when they otherwise wouldn't have. And one of those players is Washington Spirit Bailey Fye. She's a good two-way midfielder. She covers a ton of ground. She can link and set play. She's crafty with her movements. The thing that has separated her is her intelligent positioning to get into goal-scoring situations.
Yeah, Washington head coach Richie Burke said if this team voted right now, she would be their MVP.
And for Chicago, Kalia Watt, she's not a new face, but she is with a new team and in a new position. She's typically a wide player that loves to take on 1v1, but now finds herself in that center forward position where she can be more dangerous in front of goal, and that proved dividends last weekend with her 2 goals and 1 assist against Sky Blue.
For more on Kalia Watt and where she'll be for Chicago today, let's bring in Marissa Pilla.
In Kalia Watt's first 7 games with the Chicago Red Stars during the Challenge Cup, she started out wide on the wing, but she didn't record a single goal or assist in that tournament during the run of play. Fast forward a couple months, and now head coach Rory Dames has transitioned her to the center forward position up top at the number 9. And in those 2 starts as the 9, Watt has recorded 2 goals and 2 assists, contributing to 4 of the team's league-leading 5 goals in this fall series. Watt told me this is truly the first time in her career that she's ever had to play at the 9. And while she was a little hesitant at first, right now she said she's very much enjoying feeling dangerous in front of net.
Let's see how that Chicago attack and lineup looks today.
They're in their 4-3-3. Keep an eye on number 11, Sarah Gordon. She is the most experienced defender in that young back line for Chicago, but then also attacking midfielder number 10, Vanessa DiBernardo. She's been asked to get higher up the field and link up with number 2, Kalia Watt. And then for the Washington Spirit, also in a 4-3-3, number 3, Sam Staub, and 14, Paige Nielsen will anchor that back line. It'll be 26, Megan McCool, and 6, Katie McClure, that will look to penetrate that back line.
In the first fall series meeting between these two teams, we saw a first-half red card and a stoppage-time game winner for Washington. What drama will ensue in take 2? Find out next.
The Chicago Red Stars and Washington Spirit players stand together in support of diversity, inclusivity, equality, and the fight against systematic racism. Please join us for a 20-second moment of silence as we are all united against racism.
Players of the NWSL very aware of the world around them and where they stand, the message that they want to send as they get set to kick this one off from Bridgeview, Illinois. Tori Penso, our referee. The Chicago Red Stars wearing those light blue tops. The Washington Spirit all in white on the road as they make their first appearance away from home. First 2 matches for the Spirit played at Segra Field. Washington on the attack now. As Katie McClure on that far side for the Spirit. That trip by Colaprico occurs in a very dangerous spot.
And it's Bailey Feisis getting on the ball early that sends this one in, and then Sanchez will twist and turn, look to find little pockets of space right in front of the goal to create chances, and she forces Colaprico to pull her down.
So Alyssa Nair, two-time World Cup champion with the United States, will try to get that wall set in front of her. What an opportunity early here for the Spirit. A lot of young players for both teams getting opportunities in this match, in this fall series, as we talked about a few moments ago. Ashley Sanchez named the future legend of the Challenge Cup. She will take it, drives it right into the wall, gets it back, has another go at it. The wall stands tall. Spirit, though, still looking to attack, and a chance at the post. Nair got there, did not clear it fully.
And a good proactive start from the Washington Spirit, something that Richie Burke, head coach, wanted to see from his team. Getting off on the front foot, getting on that rebound, and it's Ashley Sanchez getting in behind that back line, tries to keep this one alive, but no one's there for the late run.
Chicago, as you mentioned, very young in that back line, Lori. We'll see if Washington can find some success there. Sarah Gordon, the veteran in the middle for Chicago. Zoe Morse, her other center back. Cameron Biegowski getting the start at right back, and then Zoe Gorowski at left back in this match for the Red Stars.
And a lot of youth around the field on both teams, Jen, two youngest teams in the fall series.
Well, Danielle Colaprico committed the foul on the other end. Now Bailey Feist returns the favor, and we'll give a free kick here to the Red Stars.
And it's the midfield battle that we expect, where this game could be won and lost. But when you look at the numbers, Chicago, way more experience in the NWSL than the Washington Spirit's midfield.
Vanessa DiBernardo, chief amongst them. She can unleash it from that distance. She opts to lay it off this time. This is Gorowski, who, when she was playing in the attack in the last game for Chicago, scored a goal. So she is dangerous up there, the third-year player out of UCLA. Was a captain for that Bruins team that went to the 2017 NCAA championship game. Sarah Lubert, another new name, an undrafted player who's getting an opportunity. The rookie out of Missouri, was a four-time All-SEC player. And a chance right in front of goal. Katie McClure had a tap in, but Alyssa Nair made that very difficult.
And this is exactly how the Washington Spirit want to play. They want to unleash McCool and McClure on the sides, on the wing, and be able to penetrate the back line for the Chicago Red Stars. It's a good teasing ball in behind, and the right run from McCool just can't get there. Alyssa Nair does enough to put her off balance.
And my apologies, that was the other part of that McClure double in the attack. McClure double, Mick double. We're going to get thrown off by that, aren't we? But Katie McClure on the far side of the field, Megan McCool on the near side for the Spirit. The two young guns on the outside, as Richie Burke calls them. Both rookies. McClure coming out of Kansas and McCool out of Virginia.
And Jen, those are two players that are a great example of why this fall series has been so important, to give players ample minutes, great opportunities to prove their worth. So difficult with the rosters being tight, the smallest details separating each team. In a typical season, a lot of these players, it would be hard for them to get minutes, get experience.
Some good pressure in the midfield for the Spirit, forces the turnover. They go out to Natalie Jacobs, who now gets it to Takumi Yokoyama. And Nair has probably been far busier than she would like in the opening minutes of this match.
But I like the fluidity from the Washington Spirit's attack. We just saw Yokoyama peeling off the back line, picking it up in space between the defense and midfield lines for Chicago. And it's those movements between her and Sanchez that could cause problems throughout this game. The little interchange, ask questions. DiBernardo getting into the mix, fouling DeHori Howard. But it's those interchanges that are going to ask questions of that young back line for the Chicago Red Stars.
Morgan Gautrat brings it down beautifully. U.S. national team midfielder. Great to see her finally get some consistent minutes. She's struggled with injuries. Formerly Morgan Bryan. Saw that name change occur during the NWSL Challenge Cup, the month-long tournament the league staged over the summer. Chicago made it to the final of that tournament, eventually losing to the Houston Dash. This fall series, the second iteration of play for the league in 2020. Been a lot of fouls, particularly in the midfield here in these first 7 minutes and change.
Both teams not giving a lot of time and space for either of their midfield players, getting tight, getting pressure on, knowing that's the area where both teams want to play through to be able to keep possession, build up play. But right now, in the first opening 8 minutes, you've got to give the credit to the Washington Spirit. Much more inexperienced team, especially in the midfield compared to Chicago, and they've had the better of the play.
Dicey ball there. Across the face of the goal. So far, the Spirit got away with it. Get it up to Yokoyama, first-year NWSL player. Now Sanchez, this is where she's at her best, facing the goal, running at defenders. No trip called on Morse. McCool had her shot blocked. Megan McCool has come off the bench the first couple of matches for the Spirit in this fall series. It's her first start, and she still leads the team in shots and shots on goal.
But this is an area where the Washington Spirit are susceptible. Once they get into the attack, they get into an expansive shape, and then Chicago wins it, looks to counterattack quickly.
Tough to get much of a rhythm going, and Bailey Feist showing why Feisty is a good nickname for her, not just for her last name, but also in the way that she plays. Told us this week when we had a chance to chat with her, she's not afraid to go into any tackles. Second-year player out of Wake Forest. Zoe Morse trying to get that ball back behind the line. Chicago had a lot of success doing that against Sky Blue FC in their last match. DiBernardo looking very attack-minded these last couple of matches for Chicago. Goralski cuts it back in. Goralski's ball at the near post. Easy catch for the 2019 NWSL Goalkeeper of the Year, Aubrey Bledsoe.
And not a good ball in the end from Goralski, but the buildup is much better from Chicago, getting players in advanced positions, keeping possession, finding space out wide. Now the final ball has to be better, and the runners in the box have to be there.
And I know this area right here, Lori, one that you're watching closely in terms of the decision-making that Washington has. They try to build and move the ball up the field because experience-wise, that's where the difference is most vast. When you look at Washington's 3 starting midfielders, they have 80 combined NWSL appearances in the regular season coming into this year. for Richie Burke, his second year as the head coach for the Spirit. Chicago, meanwhile, so remember, 80 appearances for those three for Washington. It is 278 career regular season appearances for the three starting midfielders for Chicago.
And when you think about these two teams, Jen, the two youngest teams in the fall series, but with the vastly different experience, Chicago should keep possession and not even allow Washington Spirit to be able to get on the ball with how much positive play and experience they have on the field right now.
Well, Colaprico, Gautra, DiBernardo, I mean, these are names that we have heard for years in the NWSL. Here's DiBernardo looking forward, trying to get Kalia Watt involved. Biegowski now finds Watt. Quick touch from Kalia Watt. Savannah McCaskill waiting there. Colaprico trying to get to that end line. Good help defensively for the Spirit. Yokoyama will look for some help. Doesn't have too much of it just yet. Slow build for the Spirit. Here comes McCool. McCool touches it toward Sanchez, but the speedy Gordon looked like she had it covered still. I think Sanchez maybe popped a foot on that ball.
And that's a right run by Sanchez, but the wrong decision from McCool. McCool just serves the ball too early. Sanchez wasn't in a position to be able to bypass the Chicago Red Stars defense. McCool should have continued to take the space.
There is indeed a learning curve, which you get to witness firsthand watching this NWSL fall series. Many teams have a number of players who are either away on loan temporarily, or some of whom have opted out of this NWSL fall series. Julie Ertz, one of the most notable players for Chicago, not playing in these 4 matches for the Red Stars. Washington doesn't have any players on loan or who opted out. They are without Rose Lavelle, who was the U.S. national team dynamo. It was really exciting to watch in the Challenge Cup, but she has since gone to play at Manchester City, and her rights in the NWSL also traded away from Washington to OL Reign. So that's a big difference. But other than that, they are missing players due to injury. They've just really been hit hard with some of their key players like Andy Sullivan, Tori Huster, Jordan DiBiase, Tegan McGrady, and Jay Boissy are all listed on that injury report as out for this match.
When you think about how young this team is, that's when those players become, or them missing, become so much more important.
Dorian Bailey, words of her head coach, Richie Burke, has just been brilliant. Bailey, number 19 for the Spirit, playing at left back today, but one of those players he feels he can plug in anywhere. Doherty Howard takes her time on the ball. Watt just trying to pester Paige Nielsen as she made her way forward. Seems to be a bag or some sort of plastic rolling across the field. Everyone will just hope to avoid. Here's Sanchez. McCool, tied for the ACC lead in scoring a year ago for the Virginia Cavaliers, had 15 goals. McCaskill, boy, she played a big part in the first meeting between these two teams, and not in a good way. 2 yellow cards in the first half for McCaskill 2 weeks ago, for Chicago to play a player down the rest of the match. Great connection there, though, with Watt. The end product not so strong.
And for both teams so far in this first 15 minutes, doing well defensively, forcing turnovers, but then when it comes to the final pass or the correct decision making, it's just a bit off for both teams in that final third. Did just get to see a good glimpse, though, of what the fluidity of having Kealia Watt in that number 9 central forward position looks like. A lot more room for her to be able to take on 1v1, but also pop out wide where she's more favored. Allows for players like McCaskill, who you're just mentioning, Jen, be able to make runs in behind from deep positions.
Gordon. Nothing doing there. Sam Staub, Paige Nielsen, the 2 center backs for the Spirit. The rock and the mountain, according to Richie Burke. They are 2 pretty solid players back there. Nielsen, the more veteran of the 2, returning to the NWSL after playing all around the world. For originally being drafted by what was then Seattle in 2016. That type of ball served Chicago well against Sky Blue FC in their 4-1 win in their last match. They haven't unlocked Washington with it yet, though. DiBernardo comes away with it for Chicago. Watt has come back.
Right there, Watt doing a good job of getting herself in a good position, but she has to get on the half turn to be able to turn and face, run at the back line. Right now, everything's back too easy, allowing the Washington Spirit to squeeze the game, keep them pinched in on one side and make the game predictable. And these are the little details for both teams, Jen, especially with the experienced players, to elevate their game, elevate their teams. When you're playing with so many players that don't have a ton of minutes under their belt, you have to step up and make more of an impact. And sometimes that's playing outside of yourself.
Bailey, former North Carolina Tar Heel. She'll trot back, unable to create corner kick for her team there. Neither team has earned one of those yet. Biegowski. Doherty Howard has just been placing herself all over that midfield, making herself available to the ball. Watt, McCaskill asking for it, gets it, bends it the other way. Nice composure there from Zoe Morse. Yokoyama. Sanchez gets to it, tries it again. The attack just really falling flat for both teams when it gets to that final ball, final pass. Nielsen, strong ball, but into the top of the net.
Well, decent idea from the Washington Spirit. The issue that they will have this entire game, though, will be not having somebody that can penetrate really that back line, that has the exceptional speed to get in behind Chicago's defense. With Yokoyama, she's more of a back-to-goal link player. So they're going to need to be patient in that final third, swing the ball around, look to unbalance Chicago, and then look to find Sanchez and Yokoyama on the little 1-2s in and around the box. You can tell right now, Jen, both teams just defensively happy to sit in the mid block, not give anything away defensively, forcing each other to have to play through them, be intelligent in their decision making. And right now, too many breakdowns for both teams, easy giveaways. That's why we're seeing so many fouls in the middle of the third.
McCaskill. Washington very aware of McCaskill's ability to deliver that final ball.
Good step by Paige Nielsen on that last play. McCaskill found a little bit of space in between those two lines.
McClure trying to find McCool once again. It was probably Washington's best offensive opportunity was when those two linked up early, and McCool had it there inside the 6-yard box, but speedy Alyssa Nair got in her way.
Well, the flank area is an area where Washington can be successful. Such a big field they're playing on, lots of numbers in the midfield. Can they switch the point, find the flanks early, and then look to see if they can serve balls in? Because against the young back line that the Chicago Red Stars are employing today, so difficult when you're playing driven balls across. They're forced to play back to goal or facing their own goal, excuse me. It'd be hard to defend players running at you.
Watt trying to get going, get moving in her first year playing for Rory Dames and the Chicago Red Stars. Rory Dames, the only head coach in the NWSL to have been with the same team since this league began in 2013. And of course, his time with Chicago predates the NWSL, having coached them in WPS as well. Just get the feeling this match needs something to wake it up a little bit. Maybe this corner kick is it. Bending ball, Bledsoe out for it. Nobody challenges her in the air.
It does, Jen. It absolutely does. Somebody that just wants to get on the ball, who wants to take care of it, who wants to push their team forward. And we talk a lot about opportunities and experience, but for some of the players that have been in this league, especially looking at the Chicago Red Stars, with the amount of experience they have on this field, they have got to do better when they have the ball.
Well, and there is a lot on the line. There is no championship at the end of this fall series. There is the Verizon Community Shield, which is a wonderful initiative from Verizon that will provide grant money to a local community partner to the team that has the most points at the end of the fall series. But it's a very different format than what we saw in the Challenge Cup, where you were trying to play for a championship. You had knockout rounds. But this is important for these players because expansion is coming to the NWSL. So they want to make their case either to stay with the team they're on or to be a viable player to perhaps go to an expansion team that comes in.
And regardless if there's expansion, Jen, it's always about proving yourself. It's always about going out, taking another step forward, whether you've played on a World Cup team, whether this is your first experience on an NWSL team. It's about raising the level and understanding the small details. Good positioning by Gautrat to look to go out the other side.
McCaskill has bounced out wide. Now coming in with the ball at her feet, sends it across. DiBernardo is there! The header just missed! That was the setup right there for Chicago. Just not finished off.
And how Sarah Lubert does not find the back of the net, I don't know. But this all starts from Gautrat getting in a good positioning, allowing to bypass the Washington Spirit's midfield, gets out the other side. It's a terrific ball across, easy for DiBernardo to play first time across, and Lubert just can't make contact. She's got to do better.
Red Stars trying to ride that momentum a little bit now. Here's Gautrat. Lubert has another shot at it.
And this is better by the Chicago Red Stars, starting to get on the front foot. You see Gautrat getting on the ball more often. Lubert's got to stay wide. We see how many numbers are in the middle of the field. The space is out wide on the flanks. And right now, too easy for the Washington Spirit to defend. So many numbers right down the spine. Got to force them to make decisions on whether or not they're going to step out wide or stay tight as a unit, and space will open up.
Sarah Lubert did score her first goal in the 2-1 loss at Washington 2 weeks ago in the 26th minute. That gave the Red Stars the lead. And as we've talked about, that was really two different games. It was when each team was playing with 11 players and then when they weren't. And that was the 42nd minute. Savannah McCaskill had her second yellow card, and it changed drastically how Chicago had to play. And I think the attack for Washington really picked up as the Spirit were able to tie the match and then eventually get the game winner from Jessie Scarpa off the bench in stoppage time. Dorian Bailey not on the same page with McCool. Megan McCool did not play in the Challenge Cup for the Spirit. This is her third appearance in the fall series, first start. Throw-in coming here. No, it is a corner. Thought that it looked like it went out for a throw, but the way everyone was lining up indicates that it is a corner. First for the Spirit. Doherty Howard takes it. Spirit claiming they should get another one. Tori Pinto agrees.
And Bailey Feist will be the target on these corner kicks for the Washington Spirit. The best header of the ball on her team. To see if she can pick or get a few yards of space.
And really some of the best headers for Chicago not in the match. Julie Ertz, Casey Short, who is listed as questionable for this match. Short. Doherty Howard right in the middle, but too much contact. And this will be Chicago ball.
Zoe Morris does well to get up the rookie out of Virginia. Good defensive play.
Goralski knocked down by McClure. This will be a free kick for Chicago. Katie McClure, a rookie out of Kansas. Three-time All Big 12 selection for the Jayhawks. And picking up a yellow card on that play. Driven ball into the area, but it bounces to Bledsoe.
Bledsoe does well to read that teasing ball in behind. If she doesn't come for it, allows for a Chicago Red Star to be able to possibly get a foot on it.
Those bouncing balls with a ton of pace like that can just be nasty to read, especially once they get into the fray with a lot of players who can maybe just redirect it one way or the other. Sarah Gordon, boy, what wonderful work she has done in the community. Had her Pass It On challenge during the NWSL Challenge Cup to raise money for mental health. Raised over $15,000. Watt cuts it back. Watt got herself a look and hits the post. That is what Kealia Watt can do when given the opportunity. McCaskill back to Watt. DiBernardo calling for it. Nothing but Washington around her. She finds McCaskill. Double team now on DiBernardo. Biegowski has a look at it. McCaskill trying to thread the needle. Difficult ball.
And this is why Coach Rory Dames of the Chicago Red Stars wanted to play Watt at that center forward position, because she can make those inside out runs that opens her up, can face herself up 1v1 and cut players. And this is a good look to be able to try to bend that to the far post. Just catches the outside and sends it out of bounds.
Our first hydration break is upon us. We will have one in each half. No score so far between our two teams. Stream CBS Sports HQ, the completely free and always-on sports news network for highlights, breaking news, and expert picks. Download the CBS Sports app on your phone or connected TV to watch today. We've talked about Tori Penso just a little bit, but there's a lot more to her story. And for more on that, let's go back to Marissa.
That's absolutely right, Jen. Today's center referee, Tori Penso, made some history earlier this week. On Wednesday night, Penso became the first woman in 20 years to be the head official for a Major League Soccer match. Now, this is significant not only because of the amount of time that has passed since the last time a woman has refereed an MLS match, but also because of what she physically had to overcome to be cleared to officiate. According to pro guidelines, any referee, man or woman, that needs to officiate a men's match, they have to pass the standard men's FIFA fitness test, which consists of running 6 40-meter sprints in under 6 seconds. That is even more impressive considering the 34-year-old also has 3 daughters under the age of 6. Now, Penso is known in the referee world as someone who sets high standards for herself, so really it was no surprise to her colleagues that she was able to reach this feat and make some history along the way.
Now, that's fantastic. We are used to, Marissa, seeing such great role models out here with the NWSL players, but hey, the referees doing it as well.
And to have to pass that fitness test, no thank you.
My hamstring hurts just thinking about that, actually. Our thanks to my good friend Christina Uncle as well for making sure we were aware of that story. Although, Lori, I know you were anyway, since you were a part of broadcasting that MLS match on Wednesday night that Tori Penso was the lead referee for.
I get the Penso double.
Yeah. Also some encouraging news. I saw that in the Washington-Cleveland game tomorrow in the NFL. That'll be the first NFL game with female coaches on both sidelines and a female official on the field. Chicago seemed to have picked up some momentum prior to that hydration break. Let's see if they can carry that forward. Here's Watt. 3 defenders around her now. You can tell the Spirit do not want to get into a one-on-one defending situation with Watt. They're coming at her in numbers.
They don't, but they're doing a good job of that initial pressure of getting players behind the ball, not allowing her to turn and face where they know she could be the most dangerous. But now for the Red Stars, it's going to be about just being even more patient Getting players into the attack, out wide, numbers overload.
Goralski calmly plays that back to Nair. Gives it away though. Sanchez. McCaskill. Chicago can be dangerous on the break. Watt running along with McCaskill, who just keeps speeding forward. The two of them, though, you could tell, crisscross wires there at the end.
And this has been the issue for Chicago, consistently being on the same page. Watt with her midfielders. Well done from McCaskill to take that space, to drive at the back line. But Watt would have done well if she would have stayed wide, created space for herself. McCaskill could have made the decision of continuing her run or play Watt into the wide areas.
Kalia Watt, the all-time leading scorer at Houston, where she spent her first 6 years in the league, said she really loved her time there. First substitution of the match sees Jenna Hellstrom come on for Doherty Howard. And Maggie Doherty Howard had some breathing issues during the Challenge Cup. Of course, with the altitude out in Utah, I could understand, but this is a relatively early sub for Richie Burke to have to make.
And it's unfortunate because Doherty Howard, one of the two most experienced players on the field for the Washington Spirit. High soccer IQ, screens that front of that back line. But with that substitution, we're going to see Dorian Bailey move into the center mid position. Jenna Hellstrom will be in the left back position where Dorian Bailey was occupying.
Versatility, such a coveted attribute for coaches when they have to make changes like that and when their depth is limited.
I loved hearing Richie Burke talk about Dorian Bailey and her versatility, what she provides for this team, just an ultimate pro at such a young age, but wants her to be more vocal, wants her to be more of a leader.
Good first touch from McCaskill. She'll get it back from Biagalski.
We're seeing McCaskill get on the ball more and be able to face up, but hasn't been able to do anything dangerous.
Goralski just tripped up a little bit.
And that sums up this game so far. Just putting the pieces together, one or two passes, both teams able to connect, and then in the end, it just falls apart. Can't complete the pass, can't keep possession. Miscommunication in the final third for both teams.
Told you that Chicago went all the way to the final of the Challenge Cup, and there are some personnel changes between that roster and this one for sure. Mentioned Julie Ertz being out. Casey Short has yet to play in this fall series for Chicago. For Washington, they finished as the #2 seed after the preliminary round and then were eliminated in the quarterfinals, one of 3 quarterfinals that went to penalty kicks. They wound up being eliminated by Sky Blue FC, one of their opponents in this Northeast pod of the fall series. 3 teams in each of those regionally designed pods.
Jen. One of the things I love, it's unfortunate that we can't have fans in the stadiums, but you could hear the coaches, you could hear the players, and who's being the vocal leaders on the field, telling players to be patient, switch the point of attack.
Yokoyama couldn't get it past that back line of Chicago. Dorian Bailey takes her shot off the mark. We saw the substitution for Jenna Hellstrom coming in for Meggie Doherty Howard. Marissa, do you have any more on that?
That's right, Jenna. It was an early substitution for the Washington Spirit, and I'm being told from the team that Megan Doherty Howard was subbed out because of issues she was having with migraines.
Yeah, you could see her seems to be in some clear discomfort there in the sideline. Thank you, Marissa. And so the young get a bit younger, a bit less experienced, but nobody's looking to use that as any sort of an excuse. It's all really about evaluation and still trying to have your best product out there, even if it might not closely resemble what you'll look like next year. Chance here for the Spirit. Well defended. DiBernardo wanted to find Watt quickly, but that ball goes out of bounds.
But on the other end, that's the right idea from the Washington Spirit. Getting the ball out wide, keeping possession, allows Hellstrom to get higher up the field. Still missing that final pass, that execution in the box. It goes back to what we were talking about, the space out wide. Can you consistently read that play? And that's when the players like Dorian Bailey, Bailey Feist, who have really stepped up in these fall series, need to be able to take note of where the space is, where they can break down Chicago, read that play quickly.
Spirit will set up for their third corner of this first half. Alyssa Nair coming into this match had 11 saves through the first 2 games. That's the most in the fall series. Morse got up to head that ball first for Chicago. Still much to be figured out for these two teams. Chicago's looked the more dangerous a couple of times, but nothing to show for it. Watt hit a post, is as close as the Red Stars came. Handball called on the field.
And when things aren't going your way, Jen, in the attack, it's the movement off the ball that you can control as a player. Just finding little pockets of space, always looking to be an outlet for the player that has the ball. And right now it's too slow. Saw Chicago trying to get out, but no outlet from Watt or any player up top.
Gatra, nice first touch to find McCaskill on the end line. McCaskill will earn a corner. 2 minutes of stoppage time added on to our first half. This is just the second corner kick for the Red Stars coming up. Perhaps a bit of a redemption game here for McCaskill, who had to miss the last game after her 2 yellow cards caused her to be ejected 2 weeks ago against Washington.
Good awareness on the last play. seeing where the space is in behind the back line for the Spirit. First touch takes her away. Can't get a good cross.
DiBernardo. McCaskill comes down with it. Maybe a little too much time.
But McCaskill, Jen, is one of those players, so many tools in her arsenal, but we just haven't seen enough. We see these glimpses. She can shoot from distance. She can take on 1v1. She can play the final pass. We just don't see it consistently enough. And when you think about a Red Stars team that's still searching for an identity without the likes of Sam Kerr on the field, some players missing that are typically their go-to players, this is an ample opportunity for her to be able to step up her game, get into the mix, and prove her worth.
McCaskill. Across for DiBernardo. DiBernardo looking back to McCaskill, gets on her horse, gets there, but slips out of bounds. Can't fault the effort on that attempt, but the grass took her down.
And this is where McCaskill can be the most dangerous, reading the play, making the runs in behind. Such a high soccer IQ, so difficult to pick up as an opposing team's defense.
Halftime sees us scoreless so far. 5 shots for Washington in that first half, just 1 for Chicago. So both teams' offenses taking a little while to get moving in this fall series matchup. Kealia Watt had a couple of moments in that first half, and that one in particular where she hit the post, probably the most dangerous attack for Chicago in the first 45. Kealia making her way over toward Marissa. And she's with Marissa now, or at least 6 feet away from Marissa now. So Marissa, go ahead.
Kealia, your team started to create a lot of momentum in the final third. How in the second half can you start to capitalize on those opportunities?
Yeah, I think as we went on, we got more dangerous. We started breaking lines, but the beginning of the game, we started really slow. And we had some chances at the end, but we really need to keep that momentum and go forward. Rory said at the water break, we're going back too much. We have to go forward.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, no score so far in our match, but if you want to see some goals, plus what might just be the save of the year so far in the NWSL, stick around. That's coming up as we look back at some of the past action in this NWSL Fall Series. Welcome back to halftime from just outside the city of Chicago between the Washington Spirit and the Chicago Red Stars. Let's take a look back now at some of the action from last week in our NWSL Fall Series. Laura, you and I are pretty familiar with this matchup.
And this is a teasing ball in from Lauren Millay into Dabinia. Good run to get in behind her defender, but it'd be Ashlyn Harris with the big save off the goal line. She stands her ground, stays big, and smothers the ball in the end. And then it'd be Marta on the other end, just a no-look ball to Chelsea Lawrence, who does well to get up the field. Should have taken it with her head, always falling away from the goal, ricochets it off the crossbar, and then Lynn Williams. Uncharacteristic mistake by Ashlyn Harris, let it through, but Chelsea Lawrence with the goal line save.
Defense backing up your keeper. That one ended 0-0 draw. Not so for this one. Chicago unpacked the offense against Sky Blue.
And Kealia Watt finds herself in a new position, a center forward position, links up with DiBernardo. Good little through ball to unleash Watt, just slots it home, opens up her hits.
It was a big game for Watt. She and DiBernardo really connecting offensively.
And she returns the favor to DiBernardo, finds her on top of the box. Good first touch to get it out from underneath her foot, and then slots that far post. And well done to take the space from Lubert. It's an inside-out run from Watt. And then a toe poke in the end
4-1 the finish, and that one big win for Chicago. The Portland Thorns also looking offensive against Utah Royals FC.
And Charlie was happy to be back on the field for Portland. First game of the fall series, twists and turns, then a left-footed far post shot.
Another fresh face and a new name we've all been waiting to see for Portland, Sophia Smith.
And good positioning by Sophia Smith, but where is the Utah defense? Wide open for the substitute and the rookie. Great first goal. And then awareness by Lindsey Horan. Odd mistake, miscommunication by Utah. Tried to play out of the back, but Lindsey Horan pounces on it. Sets her team up for a 3-0 win.
When we come back, we'll take a look back at our first half from Chicago. Tomorrow, the NFL on CBS returns with a full slate of games, including the Red Hot Raiders traveling to New England for a clash with Cam and the Patriots, and Deshaun Watson looking to get the Texans back on track against the Steelers. It all begins with the NFL today at noon Eastern on CBS. No score after the first half of our NWSL match today from Bridgeview, Illinois, between the Chicago Red Stars and the Washington Spirit. Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay. Lori, what needs to be better for these two teams as we look toward the second half?
Well, both teams need to take better care of the ball. It's too many easy giveaways, too many unforced errors. Now, can you take it a step further? Be patient when you win the ball, and then be able to create numbers up situations and attack from the width.
Speaking of attack, Chicago with a couple of chances in that first half.
And this is one of the best chances of the game for Chicago. They're able to get the ball wide, be able to play through the midfield. And McCaskill steers a dangerous ball over to DiBernardo, and this has to be in the back of the net. Lubert has to make contact with that ball. And this is why Watt is so dangerous in that number 9 center forward position, because she makes those inside out runs, is able to get faced up, find some space for herself, just cuts Sam Staub, uses her momentum against her, and then sends that ball just ricocheting off the far post.
2 shots actually for Chicago in that first half. One more was tacked on after I read them just before the half there, but no shots on goal for either team. We'll see if we can get some improvement on that in our second 45. That'll be coming your way when we come back. You're watching the NWSL on CBS. Looking to break the zeros in our second half between the Chicago Red Stars and the Washington Spirit. The first rematch of the NWSL Fall Series, where each of the NWSL's 9 teams are divided into their regional pods. They'll play 4 games total throughout this Fall Series, and looking to pick up some money from Verizon and share that with a community partner. The team with the most points will win the Verizon Community Shield at the end of these 7 weeks. More matches coming up for you to keep an eye on. More today, in fact. Get a chance to see OL Reign make their debut. Here we are in the 3rd match for these two teams, and OL Reign still yet to play. So a bit of unbalanced schedule there to keep up with as you look at the standings. Houston, Orlando in the south going on later tonight as well. And if you go all the way down there to the bottom, stay up late with us. Next Saturday, CBS Sports Network, Utah and Portland coming your way. Kaylia Watt, ready to go for the second half. Love what she had to say to Marissa just before the half, Lori, about just needing to go forward a bit more.
Try locking it in.
Well, they do. Everything is so predictable. Playing backwards, and it comes back to what we have been talking about, which is movement off the ball, early movement off the ball to find good positions to be able to break the lines for the Washington Spirit. And then you get on the half turn and be able to play forward and find the likes of Watt up top.
Couple of changes as we get underway for the second half. You saw one, Crystal Thomas, number 31 for the Washington Spirit. 26-year-old came on in the attack to replace Megan McCool. And for Chicago, Bianca St. George, who a player, quite frankly, we were a little shocked not to see in the starting lineup. The second-year player, but in her first year of playing after an injury last year, out of West Virginia, will come in for Gorowski on the back line for the Red Stars. Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay, Marissa Pilla, happy to have you along with us in our coverage on CBS Sports of the NWSL Fall Series. Every game so critical to get some experience, and this is a big opportunity for Thomas, who just came into the match. Thomas had a gift and nearly cashed it in.
And Thomas does everything right defensively. She reads this play. She picks the ball up. But then in the end, she just looks to go high, and it's easy for Nair just to tip it over the crossbar. Has to go low, hard to that far post. Force Nair to get down and make a diving save.
Thomas had the assist on Jessie Scarpa's game winner in stoppage time 2 weeks ago against Chicago. Gautrat trying to win it back. Yokoyama. DiBernardo walks away with it. Lubert has to be stronger on the ball. Feist took it away, but it's a game of takeaway at the moment. Now let's see who can keep it.
And right there, that's the moment when Chicago can be better. Yes, DiBernardo makes a run deep out of the midfield, but can Gautrat decide to go out the other side, keep possession. Again, too predictable. They break out of their defensive pressure, look to get on the counterattack, and then it's an easy giveaway in the end. And when you look at the rest of this game, those are two players, Gautrat, DiBernardo, who've been in this league, who have the experience that we keep talking about, Jen. And those are the moments where they can be better and really push their team forward to create even more chances.
McCaskill, Gautrat with a quick look over her shoulder, had the space, now takes it. Lubert, rookie out of Missouri, ran into the Washington defense. Nielsen now has it under control. Biegowski, a local player for the Red Stars, finally getting an opportunity in this fall series. McCaskill. Colaprico. Up to Lubert. Lubert one-on-one against Jacobs. Got some space, and then Nielsen came flying in. Such a great presence back there defensively for Washington.
And that's good defensive recovery. Natalie Jacobs easily beat. But then the awareness to come over and help protect, not allow for an easy ball for Lubert to be played across the goal line.
Well, let's hear what Marissa heard from the Washington side of things at halftime. Marissa.
One of the things that Washington head coach Richie Burke wants to see out of his team in the second half is better use of width. He said that in the first half, the wingers, they weren't getting wide enough. They were getting pulled in centrally too much, becoming narrow in their shape, which allowed Chicago's outside backs to get higher up on the field. So in the second half, he wants to see a better use of the width on the field. And he kind of smiled and laughed and said, listen, we are a really young team, but I thought we had some good spells of play in the first half. We just need to work on not being so wasteful.
Well, I completely agree, but that also means you have to be able to keep possession to be able to provide that width, whether it's from your front runners out wide or even allowing for your wingbacks to get forward. But defensively, they did have good shape. They really made it predictable, hard for Chicago to break them down defensively. Now it'll be about building out of that defensive shape, keeping the ball and then looking to see if they can find Sanchez and Yokoyama going forward.
Sarah Gordon, who can play really anywhere along that back line, sliding into that center back spot with some of the other players absent for Chicago. Bledsoe up to Staub. Former Clemson Tiger has a great leg when it comes to distribution.
And I like that look by Sam Staub. Can play a wide range of balls from that back line with her left foot. Just looks to play it over the top, put Chicago's defense under pressure early on, something that we didn't see in the first half. And with such a young back line, can you put them under pressure and then get runners in behind, free up Sanchez in that attacking midfield role?
Come on, Sarah Lambert! We got you, we got you! We got you, come on!
Little pressure from Chicago, but the Spirit able to break it. Feels like there's a malfunctioning air horn on the sideline. I don't know if a sub needs to be called in for that poor thing. Sounds like it's on its last legs. The little things that you pick up with no fans in the stands.
I was going to say a seat squeak at SeatGeek, and then...
Oh, you got it out. That was good.
Then I'll stop.
There it goes. Now I can't not hear it.
And Yokoyama clearly in a offside position. And this will always be the tough spot for her, playing in that center forward role when she much preferred to come back to the ball and link play.
Kumi Yokoyama in her first year in the NWSL, member of the 2019 Japanese World Cup team. Has 43 appearances with the national team, 17 goals in her career. Nielsen. Feist. Hasn't gotten into the attack nearly as much as she would like, but a chance here for Washington. Smothered by Nair. Bit of an awkward moment, but all's well that ends well. There is Biegalski on that far side. St. George, the substitute, came in on the other side for Goralski of that back line for Chicago. Chance for Yokoyama, down the middle, passes to Sanchez.
And that's where Yokoyama is at her best. Quick little darting run, but then her awareness to be able to set up Sanchez for that first time opportunity. Sanchez can't get her hips around it to bend that pass Nair, but a good link up between the two. And you can see how that forces Chicago to have to ask questions.
Lubert got a touch to that, but nothing too dangerous. Ashley Sanchez left UCLA early. Three-time first-team All-Pac-12 selection with the Bruins. He's a number 4 pick for the Spirit overall in the 2020 NWSL draft. Has incredible youth national team experience, Sanchez. In fact, was the first ever for the U.S. to play in 2 World Cups in the same year. That was 2016, where she captained the U17 U.S. team at the World Cup, and then also played in the U20 World Cup. Was named U.S. Soccer's Young Female Player of the Year that year.
This is a player that Richie Burke talks about has game-changing abilities.
This ball bouncing. Thomas, McClure, everybody in the vicinity. Hellstrom puts it out of bounds.
But with Sanchez, her ability to make plays so unpredictable, sometimes unpredictable to herself and her teammates. But Richie Burke said he's challenged her to be more consistent throughout the game. Don't float in and out.
Corner for the Spirit. Nielsen, certainly a target. She makes her way forward. Second ball volley was a beauty from Nielsen.
I would have loved to see that made its way through. Nielsen making such good contact on that ball, keeps it low, driven on frame.
A lot of weapons that Nielsen has at her disposal. She can be dangerous when she gets up into the attack. She's also so steady there in that back line. Had a completion percentage of 87% during the Challenge Cup. That led the tournament. Jacobs. Bailey. How can you be dangerous? That's the question this young Washington team asking of itself. Watt, did she time it right? Flag stays down. Kalia Watt has near out of the goal, takes her time and skies it high.
And she does everything right. She times her run. She reads the play perfectly. Watch, from this angle, it looks like she does stay on side. But then in the end, she had McCaskill as the late runner coming back and chooses to go herself. Typically such an unselfish player, but just gets it all wrong, doesn't even get it on frame. And just as I was about to say, Jen, not the team that I expected for Chicago to start this second half. They haven't been on the ball. They've been in the defensive half the entire time. Washington Spirit's had the better of the play, but then they break out one time, and those are the opportunities that can change the game. You have to find the back of the net if you're Watt.
Gordon. Here is St. George. Marissa, what are you hearing from goalkeeper Aubrey Bledsoe out there?
One of the constants of this match has been Aubrey Bledsoe's vocal leadership throughout this game. I hear her directing her teammates with her voice, moving them into spaces, and even telling them who to link up to with for passes. And Bledsoe told me she really stresses giving clear and concise messages to her younger teammates just to make sure there is no ambiguity in terms of what she wants out of them. Also, with no fans in the stands, Bledsoe said she hopes her directions also help to inject some energy into her group.
Yeah, gotta have a big voice as a goalkeeper, right? And you have to be a little bit bossy sometimes, especially with a young group in front of you. You're allowed.
And that vocal leadership from a goalkeeper just infuses energy and confidence throughout your team, knowing the player in the last line of defense who can see the entire field is giving you concise instruction. And we've seen that because defensively, Washington Spirit's been good. They've been compact. The only time that they've been susceptible is when they push numbers forward, and then Chicago gets on the break, looks to counterattack quickly, and the Spirit are in a more expansive position that allows them to be susceptible in between the lines. But other than that, down the spine have been strong and compact and tight as a unit.
Feist. Thomas. Hellstrom really getting up high for the Spirit, and this is a player coming out of Kent State, also a member of the Canadian national team, but she was a two-time MAC Offensive Player of the Year, led the conference in scoring both years. So a big-time goal scorer. It's much more where she's used to and comfortable playing, though she's started in this match when she came on as a defender. Corner kick starting to tally up here for the Spirit. This is number 6. Chicago's been good in the air in the first ball for most of those. Good try. This is Sarah Gordon, one of the fastest on the team, who led everybody up the field. And Hellstrom will pick up a yellow card for that foul.
And no need for Hellstrom to commit this foul. She has plenty of cover, plenty of players behind her coming in for support. It's a good ball in behind, teasing ball from Gautrat, just bending it into the path of Sarah Gordon. Sarah Gordon does have speed to be able to beat you, but there were players for the Washington Spirit to be able to screen, force Gordon wide. Instead, they give up a dangerous free kick.
The yellow card has been issued in the 63rd minute of play. The Washington Spirit, number 22, Jenna Holster.
See, Savannah McCaskill has a lovely bend that she is able to put on the ball if she so chooses. So has a few options around her. She'll go it on her own. Force Bledsoe into a big save.
And we've seen McCaskill hit these before. She can get power, she can get spin, opts to go near post, does force Bledsoe to come across, move her feet quickly. In the end, an easy save. But well done from McCaskill to keep it on frame, force Bledsoe to give up a corner kick.
Could hear Bledsoe there talking to her defenders, readying for this corner kick from McCaskill. Sanchez trying to hold off DiBernardo and wins that battle. Feist, central for Yokoyama, who is really on an island with a sea of blue around her. Watt got it right again. Kalia Watt is in. Her shot just wide.
And this is the final pass from McCaskill that we've been talking about. Another inside-out run from Watt. It looks like McCaskill's going to chip the ball over the top, but then changes her mind at the last time. Perfectly weighted in behind. Allows for Watt to be able to separate herself from the defenders. Just gets too much around it, pulls it wide.
Going to be saying that name, Watt, an awful lot, hearing it an awful lot on CBS today. Kalia Watt leading this attack for the Chicago Red Stars. Her husband, J.J. Watt, 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year for the Texans, taking on his brothers, both of them, TJ and Derek, with the Steelers tomorrow. Chance for Katie McClure. Pulled the trigger, but the former Jayhawk not quite on target.
Now we're starting to see the game open up a bit more end-to-end action. This is the player that you want in behind, not Yokoyama. McClure getting on that front foot, getting in behind the back line of Chicago Red Stars. This is a player that Richie Burke says can hit a shot from distance with both feet. Gets underneath it, sends that over the crossbar. And for a young player, now can she take that a step forward, times the run, get those shots on frame, force Nair to come up with a save. As a player, Jen, those are the details that matter the most in a game, whether you have the most experienced players or even players that are new to the NWSL. The details are what matter. And that's why these games are so important, because when you make the jump from the college scene to the pro scene, you don't get that many chances anymore. You have to be able to capitalize on the opportunities you do get.
Watt has had a couple of very dangerous opportunities. This one goes out for a goal kick. The NWSL is partnering with Rally the Vote to spread the message about the importance of voting in this critical election year. 1 in 5 Americans are not registered to vote, so be sure to make sure your voice is heard. Register and make your plan to vote this November. Lubert. DiBernardo keeps it going forward for Gautrat. At the end line, it's blocked. St. George bulls her way toward the ball, but commits the foul. And it looks like for the first time in this NWSL Fall Series and just the second time in 2020, we are going to get a chance to see U.S. national team defender Tierna Davidson show replace Zoe Morris on that back line, Lori, for Chicago.
And it's great to see Tierna Davidson, U.S. international, back in the lineup, battling through some injuries. It's going to be fun to see how she composes this back line for Chicago. Just uses her experience at the international level to slow things down, settle things down. See if they can utilize that to build out of the back even more or spring quicker attacks.
Saw that Davidson was a former #1 overall pick in 2019. She was actually the first NWSL player to leave college early and play professionally in the NWSL. Had a couple follow suit since then, including Ashley Sanchez, who we mentioned earlier for Washington. So Gordon switches over to that more right center back spot now with Davidson in. Davidson wonderful at advancing the ball. Gets it to St. George. Lubert has a chance to get onto this. Maybe just ran out of gas a little bit.
And that's a great look at what Tierna Davidson will provide you. Just her awareness and understanding of where the space is. Actually played as a holding center mid at Stanford University, so understands the positioning. Her technical ability is second to none.
Davidson was the youngest member for the U.S. on their 2019 World Cup Championship team. Had one appearance over in France. McCaskill couldn't get out of traffic. Sanchez on the move. A ball held up nicely, but nobody really able to get onto it.
And I don't think she saw Crystal Thomas making a late run on the bottom of the screen out wide right. Would allow them to get more players in the attack, keep the ball longer.
Davidson won a national championship with Stanford in 2017. Lubert has Watt to her left. Also DiBernardo there trailing the play. Everybody wanting a handball called. Tori Penso says no. DiBernardo. Lubert's been busy. She's had her foot on the ball a lot here these last few moments. Can she make something of it? She does! Chicago and McCaskill have scored! McCaskill paying the price, but laying herself out to finish that one off.
Lubert has been busy on that left-hand side, but hasn't been able to capitalize. Natalie Jacobs doesn't close her down. Too easy for Lubert to get past her, just using her speed, that first touch to separate herself, and then it's a late run from McCaskill. Times it perfectly, just holds herself out. Deep run from the midfield position, and then all she has to do is slot it home because she gets herself in a good position between the ball and Washington Spirit's defense.
So Lubert and McCaskill linking up to give Chicago the lead in the 73rd minute. Said it could be a redemption type of match for McCaskill. So far, so good in that regard. I know she's had some moments earlier where hasn't been exactly perhaps what she's looking for, but that time she was where she needed to be, took the clip from behind and finished it off anyway.
And she's found herself in great positions throughout this game, pinching in from that wide roll. Just hasn't been able to be effective enough in terms of being able to execute the final pass consistently enough throughout this game, or play make from that central roll, but times that one perfectly and gives her team the go-ahead goal.
Sanchez left something behind.
And Jen, one of the biggest things about McCaskill's game that Rory Dames has applauded so much, not only in this fall series, but in the Challenge Cup as well back in July, is challenging her during the offseason to get fitter, to become a 90-minute player so she can work on both sides of the ball, and have to praise her for that today. Been really active all over the field for Chicago.
Couple of subs ready to come on. We do have a hydration break coming up as well. Avery Collins, another member of that Stanford 2017 National Championship team. She'll come on for Yokoyama, and Brooke Hendricks, number 5, in to replace Jacobs on the back line. Richie Burke's team trailed the Red Stars in their first meeting of this fall series, wound up coming back to win in stoppage time. Washington also beating Chicago 2-1 in the Challenge Cup. And right now it is the Red Stars who lead on their home field. Chicago picking up a 4-1 win over Sky Blue FC in their first match at SeatGeek Stadium of this NWSL Fall Series in their last match. Hendricks. Each team is allowed 5 substitutions in this Fall Series. That's a hard challenge. Colaprico, the guilty party. Stop. Toward Nair, foul before. We'll stop that play dead in its tracks. Hendricks introduces herself to Gautrat after just coming into the match. First year for the player out of Southern Miss in Sharpsburg, Georgia. Hydration break now here, so both teams will have a couple minutes to gather themselves. And we can tell you what's coming up on 60 Minutes on Sunday. How is the building of the border wall going? 60 Minutes has been investigating, and you'll be surprised at what they found. That's tomorrow on CBS. We were scoreless at the break, but since that time, Savannah McCaskill and Sarah Lubert connecting in the 73rd minute to give the Red Stars the advantage.
And Lubert's done well on this left-hand side. It's too easy for Natalie Jacobs, just gets beat. She cuts her front foot to be able to use her momentum to get past her and just slots this one across the goal line. And McCaskill does well to time her run, just has to get in between her and her defender to slot that one. And Bledsoe in really in no man's land, can't do anything about it. Good ball across, good pace.
Chicago now wanting to try to see this one out. Kalia Watt has had several great looks that she has created, getting herself free. Watt also plays a role defensively, Marissa, right, when she leads the press for Chicago.
That's exactly right, Jen, and I'm hearing from the sidelines the team telling Kalia Watt to close the space more. Assistant coach Scott Parkinson said when Chicago is out of position, Watt is responsible for 2 things. 1, putting pressure on Washington's goalkeeper and center backs, but also 2, she also needs to shield Washington's 6 that's playing behind her. But they've been very happy with the press that she's been putting on throughout this second half.
She said one of the biggest differences of playing that center forward role. Tina Davison just brought down better pressure from Washington Spirit later in this game. But one thing that Watt told us about, Jen, was that as a center forward, she didn't have to track back as much. As a winger, she's still used to running the flanks, 60-yard runs. She's kind of enjoying herself in the middle of the field. But now you hear Rory Dame say, hey, we're going to need even more. Screen the 6. Don't let their defensive midfield for the Washington Spirit get on the ball.
Those defensive responsibilities, they're still there. Nice turn that time by Watt, who was yanked down by Hellstrom.
And you get the sense that there's more joy in Watt's game, playing in that central role, more freedom to roam. She's more unpredictable with her movements. Said one of her best qualities is getting faced up 1v1. She was a little nervous that playing in that central role that would take away from it. But we've seen her get more faced up in this game than we have in the last few years, really, in terms of being able to take players on. She's been dynamic. And it hasn't always turned into something in front of the box, but still her play in the forces teams to be keep an eye on her.
Davidson just tried to drive that straight across. And now it's a chance on the counter. A lot of numbers up for Chicago. Can Sanchez and Washington take advantage?
And with the players that they have on the field now, with the likes of Avery Collins up top, coming in to replace Yokoyama, gives Washington Spirit a different look. They can go more direct. There's still plenty of time, though, for them to pick and choose their times, when to connect 1 or 2 passes before going long. And that's when the decision-making is going to be imperative to capitalize when they have the ball.
Both teams looking for a bit of control. Nielsen, plenty of room to carry that ball forward. Avery Collins finished up her collegiate career as a graduate transfer at Washington State. Cougars going to the College Cup last year. Chance here for Dorian Bailey. Her left-footed shot is blocked. Sanchez brings it down. And Hellstrom up and over.
And so many right decisions in this play into the end. Sanchez stays on it, gets her own rebound, and looks like she's going to go herself, but then sees Hellstrom there in the end, but just gets underneath. It's leaning back the whole time. Has to do better with the end product.
Final substitution for Washington is Jessie Scarpa, she who had the game winner in stoppage time 2 weeks ago against Chicago. See if she can pull out a little more of that magic. Scarpa replacing Katie McClure in that attack for the Spirit. Chicago Red Stars have also made a substitution. Sarah Lubert, her day is done, and she is replaced by number 34, Ariel Shavrin, a rookie out of Yale, 3-time All-Ivy selection who signed to a short-term contract for this NWSL Fall Series. There's Shavrin. Originally out of Oakland, California. Was a 4th-round pick this year, so trying to prove her worth in these minutes that she sees in the Fall Series. Stop. Feist gets to it. Nielsen wants options, sees one in the box in Collins. Now the shot from Scarpa, not on target. And she's got some great ball skills. We saw a little bit of that, Lori. The Washington Spirit sharing some training video from this week, which was just a clinic in volleys from Scarpa.
And showing a bit of that confidence from the late game winner, and then that skill that we saw in training, Jen.
Highly recommend you go find that. I know the NWSL's Twitter feed retweeted it as well. Offside flag goes up against Shavrin.
These are the moments, Jen, for the Washington Spirit. Can they take a few more risks? Be mindful that you still have players for the Chicago Red Stars that can beat you in transition. But play more direct, get players into the box. Take your chances, see if you can get the equalizer.
Hellstrom is having some difficulty getting around Biegowski. That does keep possession for her team. 5th corner of this half for the Spirit, 8th of the match on the way.
How can they do more with it? You still have Feist, but with the likes of Avery Collins in, another aerial presence.
Nair called for it, punched it out, and I'll tell you what, Tori Pinto is having none of any contact before these set piece opportunities. Seen several of them blown dead by the whistle just due to some fouls. Just over 3 minutes and stoppage time remaining in our match. Savannah McCaskill's goal in the 73rd minute. Will it be enough for Chicago? Red Stars, team who have consistently been at or near the top of the NWSL. In the regular season, they've been to 5 straight playoffs, so the only team in the league to make that claim. They made it to the championship game of the NWSL in the regular season. And this is a chance right here. Thomas has it in the corner. Washington equalizes. Lest I spend too much time waxing poetic about Chicago's success, Washington pouncing on that ball.
And the Chicago Red Stars will be unhappy about this because this is just a lackadaisical back pass trying to find Nair. But Crystal Thomas, much like in the last game against Chicago Red Stars, makes something out of nothing. This time she puts it home herself, reads the play perfectly. Good first touch to get past Nair to separate herself. And then it's a tight angle, but she does well to get around it to slot it far post. And throughout this match, the Washington Spirit has been good defensively. Gave up that one play with Lubert. Good pass into McCaskill for Chicago's goal. But other than that, they've been tight defensively, but it hasn't led to much on the offensive side until now. And for a young team, they have to be proud in terms of keeping tight as a unit and then making the most of reading that play, and Crystal Thomas doing well with the finish.
Crystal Thomas now with a goal and an assist in this fall series, as you mentioned, setting up Scarpa's game winner against Chicago 2 weeks ago. And she had just one appearance in the Challenge Cup, just 28 minutes played. Another substitution for Chicago. See McCaskill go to the side, and Danny Rhodes will come on to take her place. But McCaskill put in some good work today. More NWSL action coming your way. Get a look out at Utah, OL Reign. OL Reign finally getting a chance to make their fall series debut after they had their match against Portland rescheduled a couple of times due to hazardous air conditions and wildfires in the Portland area. That match will be played midweek next week. Three minutes of stoppage time added on. Scarpa and the Spirit playing with a little more pep in the step now. after Thomas stole away that equalizer. Watt trying to hold off the defense. And you have to think Lori Chicago will certainly be frustrated about the way that goal happened for sure, but just not being able to see this game out. I mean, they had the stoppage time game winner that they had to suffer at the hands of the Spirit 2 weeks ago.
Late heroics from the Washington Spirit for sure in these games. Not giving up when they go down. Capitalizing opportunities. 2 weeks ago was when the Chicago Red Stars went down a player. Washington Spirit making the most of that. Today, making the most of a poor back pass. These are important learning curves, though, for both teams. How to capitalize, but also clean up mistakes, as you will be punished.
Good draw. Up to Chavrin. St. George, remember, had a goal and an assist in the Challenge Cup semifinal win for Chicago. Colaprico on the far side. Just seconds remaining for either of these teams to try to break this 1-1 draw. Midway Airport, not too far away from SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, as you can tell from the air traffic flying by. Gautrat's pass will be the final one, and this one will end in a 1-1 draw. Nobody jumping up with a lot of excitement about that one, but that is how it will stand. We'll be back to wrap things up after this.
At the end of full time, the score, Washington Spirit 1, Chicago Red Stars.
I lost Amy Rhodes. I know I made her. I know I made her card, but she's gone. A point apiece, a goal apiece for both Chicago and Washington. Savannah McCaskill scoring first for the Red Stars in the 73rd minute. Crystal Thomas stealing the equalizer for Washington in the 88th. For Lori Lindsay, Marissa Pilla, and our entire crew, I'm Jen Hildreth. For more NWSL highlights and analysis, CBS Sports HQ has you covered. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports in association with the National Women's Soccer League.